here's the new character, and I figured I would show this kind of summoning animation. So she has two modes. So this is her normal mode, and then this is a mode that's really important to talk about, where she changes and she kind of charges. She'll be faster, she'll take less damage. It's a really important part of her kit. And then her exclusive weapon is going to be increasing that duration of the time there. So just remember this aspect of her kit when she kind of changes in that thing. Like, based on like reading her kit though from yesterday, I thought she would like fully transform into like a tiger or something, but for her to just kind of change, it's kind of lackluster in my opinion. But as you can see too, that she's applying a debuff, like that arrow that comes over their head. That's going to be important. That's a really important part of her kit. Yeah, Maya's great with any element. You just throw her in and she's the best healer. So you can essentially put her in with almost any character in the game and she's going to be really good. Oh yeah, Agma's great. Agma is super worth it hero. My initial impressions of this character, and I think everyone's initial impressions that once you read the kit are going to be, she's 100% a raid hero, definitely designed to just do a ton of damage, but I don't know how viable she's going to be in other game modes, because she's melee, swings a staff to inflict damage to enemies. And then here, let's actually look at if her animation's always melee. I believe it's always melee. So even when she's in her base form, yeah, even in her base form, she's always melee. So it seems pretty clear. So we know that she's melee regardless of what form she's in, which in my opinion is a bummer. For basic at the moment is very range dominant, especially from the rating aspect. So being able to get a basic character that would also have been ranged would have been great, but because she's melee, I think that kind of, you know, tempers expectations. Is going to definitely change the basic team rating going forward. But let's actually read the kit and we can talk about where she's going to be used afterwards. Okay, so first thing, whoosh whoosh boom. That's apparently her move. It swings the staff to inflict damage to enemies. And then yeah, this is gonna be one of the major parts of her kit, which is this fluffy soft. Transforms into a tiger for 5 seconds. On whoosh whoosh boom's hit, while in fluffy soft, marks the enemies with a tiger emblem. And then that's where that big emblem over their head came from, for 6 seconds, and reduces defense by 5%. This effect overlaps up to 4 times. This is very similar to Mayreal, where it's an effect that overlaps 4 times. In this case scenario, you don't need a crit though to get that effect, which is nice. And it's a pretty long debuff at 6 seconds. Most debuffs are not that long in this game. And then the defense reduction up to 20%, that's very standard. I do like that it's the generic 20% defense reduction instead of a like basic reduction or something like that. But she has the 50% basic attack party buff, so she's essentially going to be tunneling herself into the basic team regardless. You're going to want other basic characters regardless, so that extra synergy there is not necessarily going to be used as much as you would like. Before we get further in the kit, I figured the base stats, the attack is decently high here at 1100. I would say this is definitely on the higher range of people's base attacks. Same with defense, 245. It's not like crazy high defense, but it's definitely on the high end. Like, to give you an idea, I know Camille is 301 and he's one of the highest. He's like top 5 in defense, so I want to say she's top 10 in defense just at a glance here with 245 defense. For a melee character, you kind of need something like that, or you're just going to be absolutely paper, or you're going to need, like in Scintilla's situation where she has the gauntlet, that's giving her a ton of base defense, so it makes her actually tanky, even though her base defense is like complete trash. So her being in that 200 range, absolutely needed. And then we'll look at the rest of her kit, and she's going to get even more damage reduction, which I think is going to come pretty clutch. And then her chain skill here, charges swiftly, scratches the target to inflict 360% of DPS damage. It's a pretty high modifier. It's going from anything to downed, which is great. And she's melee damage going into downed. It's really good. And then increases all allies basic attack by 30% for 5 seconds. I think that's fantastic, especially with an all basic team. Really good chain skill there. Fantastic. Usually chain skills for the most part are just mainly damage, and then being able to proc off anything is awesome, and getting the extra 30% basic attack type, really good too. Obviously, you're going to need to pair her with other basic characters. I think it's pretty clear at this point with her party buff and her chain skill that you're going to need other basic characters. I think she's going to pair really well with Idol Eva and probably Sohi, because, you know, they're both melee characters, but I guess time will tell for sure on that. But I think it's pretty clear that that's going to be the direction you're going to need to go. And then and maybe even Amy too, you know, the rare character, the rare melee basic character. She just got her EX about, like, I don't know, 2 months ago. She's a melee character. Maybe she'll pair well with her as well. So then lastly, special ability decreases damage taken by 30% while in Fluffy Soft. I think that's insane. 30% damage reduction. That's, most of these are defense, whereas just getting on a already pretty tanky character, a relatively tanky character, getting that 30% damage reduction is insane. Even though we're gonna have to see how long the cooldown is. This is something that's unfortunate when it comes to these. I would need the character to be able to test the cooldown. But seeing how long the cooldown is on Fluffy Soft, if it's actually a pretty realistic cooldown, then she's essentially going to always be in this 30% damage decrease state, which is just insane in my opinion. So I think she's gonna be really good. So far, really good raid character, but maybe potentially an actual good character for arena. Potentially, I think she's just gonna get completely melted regardless in Coliseum. I don't think she's gonna do good in Coliseum. I think she could be a decent like progression character, but at the moment, solid maybe on arena, but definitely on raiding, in my opinion. Which means that she's kind of late game. She's definitely a late game character, or like a super early game character if you just happen to pull her, and then you can base your team around like mono basic, and she'd probably be good. And then also increases movement speed by 20%. I think that's going to be insane for her passive is specifically like an arena style passive. Like movement speed and defense reduction are some of the best things you could possibly do, because the movement speed is going to lend into her being able to hit her weapon skill. And if she has a good weapon skill animation, I really think she's going to be good in arena. And then her basic typing means that she's going to have good matchups against a lot of really good characters and light characters. It means she's going to have a lot of bad matchups with really good dark characters too. So that's definitely going to be a problem. But there's already Arena who's taken over the meta with basic. So you're kind of lending yourself to a really basic heavy team, which is a tough sell probably. But I think she could get some play. Thanks again. I appreciate it. Okay, so overall, I'm happy with this character. I think it's this solid character. I think for most people, she's probably a skip, not because she's bad, but because she's too niche. And right now we have a really good banner with a lot of absolute S tier / God tier characters on it. So it's not many people are going to be in a situation where they're looking for this character unless they're late game and they want a good raid character for their basic faction. Or they just want a solid arena character, but time will tell if she's actually good in arena. So then the exclusive weapon here is increases Fluffy Soft's duration time by 2 seconds, which I think is going to make a massive difference, because already I believe it lasts 5 seconds. So if I had to guess, the cooldown is probably anywhere from 7 to 10 seconds is my guess on Fluffy Soft. So she might have a downtime, maybe that would make it to where she's never at a downtime, because most of the time when it comes to these defense reduction effects, they'll find a way to make sure you're always applying it. Like Orca with her exclusive weapon, she always applies it. Lilith with her exclusive weapon always applies it. Same with Beth, same with Gabriel, Mayriel even. All these people always apply it. So I can see the cooldown not being longer than the duration of Fluffy Soft. So she's essentially always in that thing, but you have to pay for it. Like you have to get the exclusive weapon to be able to get that effect. And then lastly, deals additional 40% DPS with 30% chance, and then stomps on and then her weapon skill, it's a pretty high damaging weapon skill here, which stomps on the enemy with a tiger's foot to inflict damage around the target, puts enemies in an injured state. So it's not like a crazy long regen time, but it's not a quick one either. So it's kind of in that middle range there. So probably gonna need some weapon skill regen speed on her, but at the same time, she gets pretty tanky from the base stats and has good weapon skill regen speed on the exclusive weapon. So this is going to be one of those weapons here where you're going to want to invest some option change stones to get a max roll, because there's a lot of potential there with this weapon. And if I can scroll down, my emulator's crashing on me, so I can't scroll down here, but I don't know if there's another ability, maybe some like skill damage down here on the optional effect, but I'm not sure. A pretty solid hero, good base stats. You have the good base stats, good effects, good debuffs, good buffs on herself. Overall, for a basic character, if you had to be stuck in the basic, I would have preferred a crit rate buff on her party skill. That would have made her so sick, in my opinion. That would have made her fit with almost anyone. Even though she's a melee character, I would probably put her on the range basic team. that's my first impressions on her. As I get more information on her, I'm definitely going to cover her a little bit more. Maybe I'll even pull for her. I'll probably have to pull for her on the main account. On the free to play, I can't swing a basic character. But the characters I pulled, it will, maybe I can actually swing a basic character. Now that I think about it, maybe I go mono basic. Even though I have Camille, I go mono basic. That'd actually be kind of sick. Imagine a team of her, Arena, and then I would put in Knight, and then maybe Amy, and then that'd be kind of fun.